All right, let's talk about a concept that is an absolute game changer for cleaning up your code. We're diving into advice in aspect-oriented programming. If you're a developer, you're going to want to stick around for this.
So, let me ask you this. Have you ever opened up a method, one that's supposed to do one specific job, and it's just a mess? It's filled with logging, security checks, maybe some transaction management, all this stuff that gets in the way of the actual business logic.
I mean, just look at this. On the left, you've got your core logic tangled up with logging calls, and on the right, it's clean, it's focused. That clutter on the left, that's what we call a cross-cutting concern. And let's be honest, it's a total nightmare to read, debug, and maintain.
And that right there is the exact problem that aspect-oriented programming, or AOP, was built to solve. AOP gives us a way to pull those pesky cross-cutting concerns right out of our business logic and stick them in their own reusable modules. It's all about that beautiful idea, separation of concern.
Okay, so to really get how AOP works its magic, we got to get on the same page with a few key terms. Once you get these, trust me, the whole thing just clicks into place. First up, you've got the aspect. This is the what. Think of it as a neat little container that holds all the code for a specific concern. You might have a logging aspect, or maybe a security aspect. It's the module itself. Next, we have the join point. Now, if the aspect is the what, a join point is a potential when or where. It's basically any point in your code where you could apply an aspect's logic. And hey, for all you Spring developers out there, it's even simpler. A join point is always the execution of a method. Period.
So your application has thousands of join points, right? We can't apply our logic everywhere. So how do we pick the right spots? Well, that's where the point cut comes in. The point cut is the where. It's an expression, a rule, that zeroes in on the exact methods you want to target.
All right, so let's recap. We have the what, that's our aspect, holding the logic, and we have the where, that's our point cut, selecting the methods. But what about the actual action? What's the code that's going to run?
And that, my friends, brings us to the star of our show today, advice. Advice is the action. It is the actual chunk of code inside your aspect that gets executed when your point cut finds a matching join point. It's the workhorse of AOP.
This quote really nails it. Advice is inserted into your application. I like to think of it like weaving a new, strong thread into a piece of fabric. You're adding new functionality, like logging or security, without having to rip apart the original code.
And here's the cool part. Spring AOP doesn't just give you one way to do this, no way. It gives you 5 different types of advice, and each one is designed to run at a very specific moment. Here they are, at before, after returning, after throwing, after, and around. The only real difference between them is timing. It's all about when they run in relation to the method they're targeting. Let's break them down real quick.
First, at before advice. It does exactly what it sounds like. It runs before the target method ever gets called. This is absolutely perfect for security checks. If the user isn't authorized, you can just stop the whole thing right there. Then you have at after returning, which only runs if the method finishes successfully. This is your go-to for logging a success or maybe validating the data that the method just returned.
But what happens when things go wrong? Well, that's where at after throwing comes in. It only runs if the target method throws an exception, making it the perfect spot for centralized error handling or firing off an alert. And then there's add after advice. This one is basically like a finally block in your code. It runs after the method is done, period. Doesn't matter if it succeeded or failed, it's going to run. Great for cleanup tasks like releasing a database connection.
And finally, we have at around advice. This one is the big one, the most powerful of them all. It literally wraps around the target method. You can run code, and then you get to decide when or even if the original method gets to run by calling this little thing called proceed. This gives you insane control to do things like time how long a method takes, retry a failed operation, or even change the return value entirely.
So you might be wondering, how in the world does Spring actually pull this off? Well, behind the scenes, when a method that matches your point cut is called, Spring swoops in and intercepts it with a dynamic proxy. Think of this proxy as a security guard. It stops the call, executes your advice, like an at before security check, and then decides if it's okay to let the original method run. It's totally seamless.
So let's bring it all home. Advice is the heart and soul of AOP. It's the tool that lets you inject powerful, reusable actions exactly where you need them, without ever having to touch or clutter your core business logic. This is how you get that clean, modular, and seriously maintainable code we all dream of.
And there you have it. That's advice in AOP. Now that you see the 5 different types and how they work, the real question is, where in your own projects right now could you use this to pull out some of that clutter and make your code a whole lot more elegant? Think about it.